Military officers say they've seized power in Gabon.
The one that can make real change, president of all Gabonese.
Gabon, a nation at the crossroads. But what brought this nation to the brink of change? What secrets lie behind the legacy of Ali Bongo Ondimba? Why have allegations of corruption, protests, and social unrest become such a significant part of Gabon's story? And most importantly, what does it all mean for the people of Gabon? Where we seek answers to these questions and more. Join us on this journey to unravel the complex and controversial legacy of President Ali Bongo Ondimba. Our mission is to provide a comprehensive understanding while treating the people of Gabon with the utmost sensitivity and respect. To truly comprehend the events of today, we must first turn back the pages of history. Ali Bongo's dynastic rule. In 1967, Gabon stepped into a new era as a political dynasty took root, shaping the nation's fate for nearly 6 decades. This chapter in history began with Ali Bongo's father, who grasped the reins of power and held them tightly for a remarkable 41 years. When Ali Bongo succeeded him, the family's dynastic legacy endured for an additional 14 years, extending the rule to a grand total of nearly 56 years. During these many years, the Bongo family's leadership left a significant mark on Gabon. They navigated the complexities of governance and became deeply intertwined with the nation's identity. But as the years rolled on, so did the tide of change. The echoes of public sentiment grew louder, calling for new directions, different voices, and a fresh start. Then, in a twist that no one saw coming, military officers seized control. It was a sudden and dramatic end to a chapter that had defined Gabon for generations. Now, as Gabon stands on the precipice of change, we reflect on the legacy of the Bongo dynasty and ponder the uncertain path that lies ahead. But let's dig even deeper into this fascinating twist. The person now leading the military government is not just any person. He's actually very close to Ali Bongo. His name is General Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema. And here's what makes it really surprising. He's not just a friend, he's Ali Bongo's cousin. But what's even more intriguing is the big job that General Nguema has in Gabon. He's like the head honcho of something super important called the Gabonese Republican Guard. It's not just any group. It's the strongest and most powerful security team in the whole country. Imagine this. It's as if someone from your own family suddenly becomes the leader of the toughest security team around. That's definitely not an everyday occurrence. This unexpected connection adds another layer of complexity to what's happening in Gabon. It leaves us wondering about all the ties and choices that are happening behind the scenes. The question that looms large is, why did this happen? Corruption allegations and their impact. The biggest problem people talk about when it comes to Ali Bongo's time as the leader is something called corruption. This is like when people in power do things that are not fair or honest, like taking money they shouldn't. People who are trusted to know things and investigate stuff have looked into this and found some serious problems. They say that the corruption is like a poison that has hurt Gabon, making it not as good as it could be. So you can see, this issue of corruption has been a major topic when talking about Ali Bongo's time in charge, and it's something that has significantly affected Gabon. This concern about corruption is right in the middle of the conversation about Ali Bongo's leadership, and it's had a noticeable impact on the country. It's important to talk about this because it has shaped the way people think about Gabon during Ali Bongo's leadership. Corruption has wide-reaching effects, touching the economy, impacting trust in the government, and leading regular folks to feel the weight of its outcomes. Corruption reaches far and wide, influencing how the economy works, changing how people trust their leaders, and making everyday life more challenging. It's essential to talk about this because it changes how things happen in the country, how people trust those in charge, and how regular folks experience daily life. Protests and social unrest. But that's not all. Besides people talking about corruption, there have been a lot of protests and social unrest during Ali Bongo's time as a leader. Protests are like when lots of people get together to say they're not happy about something. They do this because they feel something is wrong. These protests happen because people have different grievances. These are just things they're really upset about. The whole country has felt the impact of these protests, and it's been a bit like everything shaking up. So, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of concerns that have made things pretty unsettled during Ali Bongo's time as a leader. People took to the streets, demanding change and justice. They were voices that could not be ignored. But wait, there's more to the story. Some really curious and determined people have looked really closely at what's been happening during Ali Bongo's time as a leader. They've made reports and documentaries. These reports and documentaries are like special shows that tell us what's been going on. They've been like detectives, finding out the complex things happening with Ali Bongo's government. And guess what? These shows haven't just been for us to watch. They've also made people from all around the world start talking. They've raised questions about how Gabon is run, if people are being accountable, which means taking responsibility, and how democracy works there. So, you see, these special shows have had a big impact, not only in Gabon, but everywhere. They've made us think and wonder about important things. Now let's talk about something called the presidential election. It's a big event where people in Gabon choose their leader. But this election was a bit different. There were some problems that made a lot of people worried. First, they turned off the internet while people were voting. Imagine not being able to use the internet. Then some local people who were watching to make sure everything was fair got arrested. That's not what you'd expect in a fair election, right? And just when you thought it couldn't get any stranger, they made some last-minute rules that seemed to help Ali Bongo's party more than anyone else. It made a lot of people wonder if the election was fair. So, when they finally said who won, Ali Bongo got 64% of the votes, and his main rival, Albert Ondo Osa, got 30%. But a lot of people didn't agree with these results. They thought something was fishy. So they started protests, where they came together to ask for a recount of the votes. The whole world started paying attention to Gabon. Amidst all this happening, there's one big question still waiting for an answer. What's next for the Bongo family? The future is a bit like a mystery, and we're curious to see how it all turns out. Is this the end of their story, or is there more to come? Let's keep watching to find out. The Oligui Nguema connection. Interestingly, General Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema, the man who took charge, has ties to Ali Bongo's inner circle. Some experts speculate that this power transition was an attempt to thwart growing public protest plans in support of Albert Ondo Osa. The situation is complex, leaving us to wonder, is this coup truly the end of the Bongo dynasty, or are we witnessing the latest chapter in a rivalry between different factions of the Bongo family? Conclusion: Gabon's turning point. In conclusion, Gabon is at a critical moment. It's like a big decision point where things are changing. Ali Bongo's time in power is a complicated story with claims of wrongdoing, protests for fairness, and an uncertain future. The story isn't finished yet. We're still finding out what will happen next. The Bongo family's future and what the Gabonese people want are up in the air, waiting to be decided. Stay with us as we keep following this story. We want to understand, care, and work towards a world where everyone's voices matter. Thank you for joining us on Politicians. If you found this video informative, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more in-depth explorations of important topics. Your thoughts and comments are highly valued. Goodbye.